Hello, and welcome back to my reading of the Cephalomunk Diaries. Today's entry is called Liquid Thoughts. Subtitle: My words and thoughts are not concrete. They are in fact fluid and forever mightily morphin'. Alright. And again, if you want to see the date this was published, or you want to see the picture that was published, or you want that Easter egg that is not here, that's in the article that's linked. Alright, let's get on with it. To accompany my letter on dump pumps, I thought it necessary, or at minimum helpful, to provide a letter on liquid thoughts. Specifically, how the nature of my thoughts are in fact liquid. Ooh. Whatever do you mean? You say while holding a fan daintily. For that answer, we need to do the born job of explaining the underlying inklings which go into such a statement. You ever hear of people talking about emotions? They use statements like, I feel blank, and I felt blank. Those blanks usually describe a mental state of some sort. Many of them, emotions. So, we got emotions, and those are generated by a complex soup of bodily states being translated into neural firing, being thrown into a big giant soup some nerds call neural nets. These neural nets overlap each other many times over and are responsible for associated things which can be grunted. We call those words. Once we got the words thrown around into these rudiment nets, we are able to start associating bodily states with emotions, with words. So far, so good. Then we get to first grade, where they start to introduce us to grammar, hence grammar school. We continue our word journey, seeing how they fit into sentences, how diction is at play, and if we are lucky, somewhere along the way, we pick up cohesion and rhetoric. We got all these crazy nets flying around, restricting themselves and constantly updating their breadth and depth. Nets on nets on nets. More nets than you can shake a stick at. So, when you, as an adult, stub your toe, the bodily state travels from the toe and is communicated to the brain through a long series of nerves, finding itself an emotion. That emotion finds itself a corresponding set of words. Fuck, you goddamn fuck, is usually my go-to in that situation. My nets have been thoroughly stewed in Macallan from age 21 to 31, which they say impedes language complexity and nuance. But what do those nerds know? Anywho, my point is that look at this complicated internal wire we have to go through to reach some quote-unquote words for something as straightforward as stubbing a toe. Now let's consider something as complex as abortion. When does life start? Why then? Why that? Says who? What do you mean by that? Abortion will forever be a complex issue, not just as the basic political level, but on a purely intellectual, philosophical level. But I've stalled here a bit to get you fuming. You're fuming presumably because you have the answer for abortion. You have the right words. You have what they say, thoughts on the issue. you, my friend, have beliefs. And well, you should. You've lived a life just like everyone else. You've seen things, heard things, experienced things, and all those things have led you to your beliefs. Well, now we get to my initial point. I have no real beliefs because my thoughts are liquid. They, like my nets, are constantly being updated, changed, overwritten, and merged with other nets. So too goes the way of my words. They now connect up with new thoughts and ideas, forever adding complexity to the tapestry, which is me. Liquid thoughts, like most liquids, can be scooped into a cup and then be labeled as, that cup of liquid is this many ounces and has these qualities. But as soon as you pour it back into the ocean, you gotta scoop out another cup to make more analysis. And frustratingly to many people listening to me, this is how I perceive the world. I know that if I ever manage to form a belief, it is because I have neglected to stitch it up with the rest of the nets. For as soon as I do that, the belief will disappear into a sea of wordless, buzzing complexity. Why make this point? What is the utility of saying all this? I think this is extremely useful to keep in mind when reading my newsletter. For some thoughts may seem to change from newsletters past, or my logic may seem inconsistent, or the stories will shift perspectives. I think it's helpful to remember my liquid thoughts will be on full display here. Hopefully, you'll all have access to an umbrella.